Now, 188 months. Do you know how many years that is? Without bringing out the calculator, you cheater. 15 years. That's how much prison time this rapper right here got sentenced to. Now, Casanova. Are you guys familiar with the name? Casanova is a 37-year-old rapper out of New York. He's been around for some time and actually covered his story back in late 2021 when he was begging for his freedom from prison. He also a few weeks back went viral after a story surfaced that he got slashed in the face by another inmate behind bars. Casanova at the time of his incarceration was 35 years old. Back in 2020, the FBI put out an official statement informing the public that the untouchable, or maybe not so untouchable, Gorilla Stone Nation gang, who Casanova was a part of, got charged with racketeering, murder, narcotics, firearm, and fraud offenses. So essentially, this criminal network that Casanova was a part of got hit with a RICO. Just a quick explanation as to what a RICO is. It's a federal law that was passed back in the 1970s. It stands for the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, and it's essentially a law that allows the feds, prosecution, court of law to shut down an entire criminal organization. So in other words, it's a federal law that was put in place to combat organized crime. You know how when you hear stories about rappers getting hit with RICO charges, as an example, YSL, Young Thug? Well, that just means that they're a part of a big criminal organization, obviously, who are committing heinous crimes, and this RICO now essentially wipes out the entire organization off the street and into the system where criminals, of course, belong. Moving on from that, so Casanova himself was a part of a criminal organization called the Gorilla Stone Nation gang. The Gorilla Stones are described as an organized and highly efficient street gang that's been terrorizing various communities by committing violent acts since 2004. Those violent acts include drug trafficking, murder, and gun crimes. They have members across the state of New York, including throughout the city of New York, Westchester, all over the country, and even in the New York State prison system. Casanova himself joined the gang while he was incarcerated over a decade ago and had remained an active member since then, even after he got released from prison for a prior case back in 2013. One of the places where Casanova ran part of this organization from was the state of Florida. Casanova is described as a powerful, respected, high-profile member of the gang who for over a decade participated in the crimes the gang was committing. Everything from various fraud crimes to a large-scale narcotics operation to firearm offenses to violent and heinous acts like murder. Casanova was a part of it all. According to the Federales, Cass agreed to traffic at least 100 kilograms of marijuana. 100? Damn. And in between a 9-month period, he was responsible for distributing between 100 and 400 keys of his own brand of marijuana. Sheesh. Now, as for the murders, let's talk about that. One specific murder Casanova and his organization were involved in and committed was the slaying of a 15-year-old boy whose name was Jelani Jones. Jelani Jones was a 15-year-old high school student who was described as a humorous, shy, and respectful young man with a pleasant demeanor. He was the youngest of 11 children, so he came from a big family with brothers and sisters and a mother who loved him dearly. The young boy had a lot of plans for his future, but his light was unfortunately put out on September 21st, 2020, when he came across a man by the name of Brandon Soto. 25-year-old Brandon Soto, just like Casanova, was a member of the Gorilla Stone Nation gang. He's the one who pulled the trigger on September 21st, 2020, which took away a 15-year-old boy's life. On that evening of September 21st, 2020, shortly after 6 p.m., the police responded to a shooting that had happened in the corner of Main and Clinton Street in Poughkeepsie, New York. Officers arrived to the scene and found a 15-year-old boy who was shot in the head. That person was 15-year-old Jelani. Jelani was shot in the head by Brandon Soto, who pled guilty to this crime. The young boy was transported to the Vassar Brothers Hospital for treatment, but ended up succumbing to his injuries. He was pronounced dead at around 8:30 p.m. according to medical examiners. The police shortly after that released this photo right here, who they believed was a suspect. The person was wearing a surgical mask, a dark jacket, green pants, and black shoes. That person was later identified as Casanova's gang affiliate, Brandon Soto. During their last conversation, Jelani's mother lended him $20 for a haircut. That was the last time she saw him. On July 5th, 2020, Casanova fired a gun and hit another gang member in the leg and calf area after an argument, which sparked due to a gambling dispute. He also hit a second gang member in the foot after the bullet ricocheted. A victim suffered bodily injuries due to this shooting, and they ended up getting treated at a Miami hospital for a gunshot wound to the foot. On August 5th, 2018, at around 4 in the morning at a diner, a woman by the name of Nia Rucker, who was enjoying a meal at this diner, allegedly ended up getting brutally beat down by Casanova's crew. Nia was allegedly put in a headlock by Cass's guys until she fell to the floor unconscious from the lack of oxygen. This happened after she apparently recorded him on Instagram Live. Casanova saw her do it and then allegedly directed his crew to take whatever action was necessary to get her phone, including physical force.
This is embarrassing. I ain't eat food in 3 days.
Naya Rucker has stitches in her face, a broken jaw, and her tooth was knocked loose.
It's more than just the physical pain.
Rucker says she was attacked by Brooklyn rapper Casanova and his entourage. Tonight, she's speaking out in this exclusive Pix 11 interview.
You think just because you're somebody, you can do whatever the hell you want to somebody, and that's not okay.
It was 4:40 Sunday morning. Naya was at the Good Stuff Diner. She says Casanova was also there with a group of his friends. Rucker tells Pix 11 after the waitress brought her food, she wanted to show off her meal on Instagram Live.
Then all of a sudden I hear, "Hey, yo, shorty, take me off your live." So I turn around, I'm like, "Oh, you're not in my live. You're not even in the frame."
Recently, Casanova was the victim of an attack behind bars. Another inmate attacked him and slashed him in the face with a sharp object after a fight. Casanova, right after this, ended up chasing that inmate down with the help of some other inmates and jumped him as a get back. The other day, Caswell Sr., also known as Casanova, was sentenced by a U.S. district judge to 188 months in prison, which equals to 15 years. The sentence was laid down because of the racketeering and narcotics offenses in the case that Cass had a part in. According to the verdict, Casanova had a leadership role in the Gorilla Stone operation. Casanova is one of the 11 defendants who's been sentenced for this RICO case. So far, the Gorilla Stones combined have racked up a sentence of 1,392 months, which equals to 116 years of prison time. A criminal enterprise who terrorized their community and took the life of a 15-year-old boy. I look at that and I say, that's a huge win. At this point, you should know where I stand on this particular subject. Over here, we have absolutely zero sympathy for grown men who decide to partake in violent acts that are not good for our society. Casanova was a gang member who was a part of a criminal enterprise who contributed to the destruction of his community. He knew what he was doing. He knew that he was a part of a criminal network that took the life of a 15-year-old boy. He knew what damage he was causing to our society, made records about it, and lied to the children from his community by stating that shootings and gun violence isn't a way of life. He did that on this Instagram post right here. I'm the same individual that went to City Hall and housing projects with Eric Adams to speak to children and explain to them how shootings and gun violence isn't the way of life. I visited shelters to feed the people in need all around the world, including Africa, donated back to school drives, and not one of my good deeds are mentioned or acknowledged. Well, probably because you are involved in a criminal network that destroyed the lives of a lot of families and people. While he was preaching to the kids, he was an active member of a criminal organization that literally killed a kid. You see the hypocrisy? You see the craziness of it all? You see why we can't let people like this walk around society freely, making millions from the same destruction they're speaking out against? We gotta come together as a culture, point the finger and say, this right here is not it. It's one thing to make records about it, but when you're actually out here doing it to kids, oh man, that's a problem and I have an issue with it. Anyone who comes across these monsters gets a bullet now. It don't matter if he's 15 or 5, because I'm hearing so many stories of children catching bullets now. Nobody's safe. It's a free-for-all. We got bullets for your mom, we got bullets for your grandma, and we got bullets for your 5-year-old cousin and brother and sister. That's the time that we live in right now. The saddest part about this is we're in a time where there's a mass of people rallying behind these wicked and sinister people. And they say freedom despite what they've done. And what I said right there, that is a hip-hop problem. Because only in hip-hop do we say free a guy who's, involved in hurting children. Only in hip-hop do we say free him even though he was dealing dope to said children before he whacked them. Only in hip-hop do we choose to overlook the dark and malicious spirit of said individuals who wouldn't hesitate on doing the same exact thing to your family members. That's why we can't look at these stories with rose-colored glasses. We don't look at it better than it is. We don't look at it worse than it is. We look at it for what it is. These are a bunch of grown men who are actively working towards destroying our communities while they're making millions and while they get praised for said actions. As a community, we gotta stand up and we gotta say enough is enough. Y'all have caused enough pain and suffering to innocent families, man. And so when the world comes crashing down on you, i.e. the feds take your freedom away, that is a net positive for our society. Because I don't want to live in a society where we cheer on malevolent human beings who don't care about anything but filling their pockets from hurting families and causing unnecessary pain onto an entire community. See, this is the shit that I don't like, man. These dudes are killing kids, bro. And then we got some people talking about 15 years is too much. 15 years is not enough time for the pain you caused onto these families. If it was my family, I wouldn't be satisfied unless it was 150 years. And I know you would probably feel the same way. And this is something we And this is something we as a culture gotta, work on. We gotta take a very, very black and white approach, and we gotta, make sure that we don't condone this. Because remember this, and I'm not gonna stop saying it. One day it could be your family. One day you might get that call that, makes your heart stop. Somebody just did something horrible to somebody that you love. And that moment it becomes real. The realization that we live in a society where there's entire criminal organizations whose main objective is to hurt people and children. That's crazy, and I don't want that to happen to anyone you love. I hope it doesn't. But I do hope we can look at stories like this and agree on the fact that no remorse should be felt for a guy like Casanova. He made his bed and now he's gonna have to lay in it for the next 15 years. I say that's a win for society. Anyway, like the video before you leave. Thank you. I appreciate you. I consider this video a statement, and if you agree with this statement right here, make sure you show me some love. Like the video. Don't be stingy. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and most importantly of all, enjoy your day. My name is BlackySpeakz. I appreciate you for joining me today once again. Have a good day and enjoy that meal that you're munching on. Peace. I'm out.
I gotta push through these walls, I'ma break down till my time is up. I wanna be great now. We had no options, but we still made it possible. We did honorable, fuck they hateful.